Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the best chess players by birth month. The best players born in January, February, March and so on. There is a lot of competition for these months. It's going to be a very interesting video. Stick around to the end. While there is a lot of competition for other months, for the month of January, it was fairly simple. The best player born in January is Paul Keres. Keres was born on 7th January 1916 and will go down as one of the strongest players to never become world chess champion. He won the All-Star Avro tournament held in various cities in the Netherlands ahead of chess legends Mikhail Botvinnik, Max Euwe among others. Avro was one of the strongest tournaments in history. Some chess historians believe it is the strongest tournament ever staged. It was expected that the winner of this tournament would challenge for the world champion title against Alexander Ayakin, but the outbreak of the Second World War brought negotiations with Ayakin to an end. In his 1948 match against Botvinnik, Keres lost his first 4 games, making Botvinnik world chess champion. Suspicions have sometimes been raised that Keres was forced to throw games to allow Botvinnik to win the championship. Botvinnik only discovered this about halfway through the tournament and protested so strongly that he angered Soviet officials. However, this is just suspicion. Keres somehow managed to finish second in 4 consecutive candidate tournaments, again prompting suspicion that he was under orders not to win these events. Nonetheless, he did win the Soviet championship 3 times, making him one of the strongest players of his time. Choosing the best player for the month of February was an impossible task. Savielly Tartakower, Alexander Petrov and David Bronstein were all born in the month of February. Personally, I chose Braunstein. Comment below who you would have chosen. David Braunstein was regarded as a creative genius by his peers. He tied for first place in the Soviet championships of both 1948 and 1949. His first major international tournament success occurred at the St. Geolvaden Interzonal of 1948, which he won. His interzonal win qualified him for the Candidates Tournament of 1950 in Budapest. Bronstein became the eventual candidates winner over Boleslavsky in a 1950 playoff match. He qualified for the World Championship in 1951 but lost to Botvinnik. He remained strong even after this, challenging for the 1953 candidates as well, but finished 2 points behind the winner Vasily Smyslov. Bronstein is also a very respected author and his book Zurich 1953 is regarded as one of the greatest books ever written. The month of March was the toughest month for me to choose. Viktor Korchnoi, Vasily Smyslov, Robert James Fischer and me. We were all born in the month of March. Now I am definitely the greatest player to have ever lived. However, I am also a true gentleman, which is why the best player for the month of March is Robert James Fischer. Fischer is one of the greatest world champions to have ever lived. At the height of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, Fischer single-handedly dismantled Soviet control over the world championship throne. All Soviet masters worked together, but Fischer worked alone and defeated Spassky in the World Chess Championship of 1972. Though Fischer had his eccentricities and political views to which one cannot concur, he is probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest player to have ever graced the game. The best player born in the month of April is undoubtedly Garry Kasparov. There is so much to say about Garry Kasparov, even a 10-hour-long video would not be enough. He was ranked number 1 in the world for a total of 255 months. Let that sink in. 21.25 years. That stat itself sums up his entire chess career. He was world chess champion for 15 plus years, finally losing it to his former student Vladimir Kramnik in 2000. Kasparov is currently chairman of Human Rights Foundation. He had entered politics and was part of a coalition party which opposed Vladimir Putin. He planned on running for president, but claimed that he was unable to do so due to official obstruction. He announced in 2013 that he had left Russia for the immediate future out of fear of prosecution due to his protests against Putin. Since 2014, he holds Croatian citizenship and a house in Makarska. The month of May saw the birth of 3 world champions, Anatoly Karpov, Wilhelm Steinitz and Max Euwe. However, I believe that the most dominant of them all is Anatoly Karpov. Anatoly Karpov was the world chess champion from 1975 to 1985 when he was defeated by Garry Kasparov. Karpov later became FIDE world champion once again after Kasparov broke away from FIDE in 1993. He held the title until 1999. His tournament success includes over 160 first-place finishes. He had a peak ELO rating of 2780 and his 102 total months at world number 1 is the third longest of all time. Since 2005, he has been a member of the Public Chamber of Russia. He has recently involved himself in several humanitarian causes, such as advocating the use of iodized salt. June was another impossible month to pick from. Tigran Petrosian, Vladimir Kramnik and Paul Morphy, 3 world champions. I chose Paul Morphy. Paul Morphy was probably the strongest natural player of all time and was praised by Fischer as the most accurate player to have ever lived. He learned chess simply by watching his father and uncle play. I must mention that officially Morphy is not a world champion. However, that is simply due to the lack of a governing body like FIDE. He was without a doubt the strongest player of his era. Morphy sadly retired from chess very young and lapsed into a state of delusion and paranoia. He believed that he was being persecuted by his brother-in-law. His best friend Charles Morian noted in many letters that Morphy was deranged and not right mentally. The month of July was again not easy. Both Fabiano Caruana and JuditPolgar were born in the same month of July, which made things very hard, but I picked JuditPolgar. JuditPolgar is one of the most impactful chess players to have ever lived. She is definitely the strongest female player to have ever lived. Polgar achieved the title of Grandmaster at the age of just 15 years and 4 months, at the time the youngest to have done so, breaking the record previously held by the former world champion Bobby Fischer. She was ranked as the #1 female player for donkey's years and reached a peak ranking of #8 in world chess, along with a peak rating of 2735. Both Adhiban Bhaskaran and Ramesh Babu Pragnananda were born in the month of August. Now, Pragnananda has the talent to become someday one of the best players born in the month of August, but right now it is without a doubt Mikhail Botvinnik. Botvinnik is one of the strongest players of all time and was a very dominant world champion. He was world champion from 1948 to 1954, finally losing to Smyslov, but became world champion once again in 1958 and another time in 1961. He won the Soviet Championship in 1931, 1933, 1939, 1944 and we're still not done. He also won it in 1945 and 1952. He is also the man behind modern chess training, but perhaps the most interesting thing about him is that not only was he the world champion, but he was also a computer scientist and an electrical engineer. For the month of September, again, I had a bit of a predicament here. I had 2 very strong players, Johannes Zukertort and Peter Leko. Both players who almost became world chess champion but never quite made it. I chose Peter Leko. Peter Leko is one of my favorite chess players of all time, and I will admit that I am a little biased in my pick. However, nobody can say that calling him the best player born in September is far-fetched. His best performance was probably in the Dortmund candidates, which he won. This qualified him to play Kramnik for the world title. The match ended in a tie, but the rules were such that if the match ended in a tie, then Kramnik would remain the world champion. Thus, he was unsuccessful in his attempt at the world throne in 2004. Nonetheless, at his peak, he was a force to be reckoned with and is one of the players who has influenced me the most. For the month of October, Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, Wesley So, Levon Aronian, Alexander Grishchuk and Ding Liren, 5 of the best players in the world, were all born in the month of October. But the best player from October is none of them. It is Alexander Alekhine. Alexander Alekhine was the 4th official world champion and had a reputation for playing very entertaining chess. Before FIDE was created, the challenger had to arrange for the funds to challenge the world chess champion. At the time, Jose Raul Capablanca was the world champion. Alekhine's challenge to Capablanca was backed by a group of Argentine businessmen and the president of Argentina, who guaranteed the funds. Ayakin's victory surprised almost the entire chess world since he had never previously won a single game against Capablanca. He held his title from 1927 to 1935, finally losing it to Max Ewe. But Ayakin was not done. He won the title of world champion again in 1937. He played no more title matches until his death in 1946 and is the only world champion to have died with the title. The month of November is extremely interesting. Both Magnus Carlsen and Mikhail Tal were born in the month of November, two world champions, but I had to pick the current world champion, Magnus Carlsen. I won't say much about Magnus because there is little that you don't know. He has been the world champion since 2013 till the present day and is without a doubt the most dominant player of the current era. He was excellent throughout 2020, winning multiple events. However, in December of 2020 and early Jan of 2021, he has struggled to find his rhythm. However, he is the world champion and before we know it, he will be back to winning tournaments. December is another tricky month. We have two world champions and one of the best players in the world right now born in the month of December. Vishwanathan Anand and Emmanuel Lasker, two world champions, and Hikaru Nakamura were all born in December. However, I have to say that the best player born in December was Vishwanathan Anand. Again, Anand is one of those players that needs little introduction. He is a 5-time world chess champion and one of the few players to have had a peak rating above 2800. He has had numerous first place finishes in tournaments and has received many awards, including the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna and the Padma Vibhushan. So there you are guys, that is my list of the best players born in each and every month of the year. Comment below if you think I missed anybody. You can check to my previous videos pretty much everywhere, somewhere on the screen. I'll see you soon for more chess.